Welcome back, fight fans. We're back. It's episode 49, apparently, which means next week is the 50th episode. Not doing anything special, though. We're just going to have our regular stuff, which would actually, we're going to be starting to do the contender series. So I guess that's special. And we've, of course, got a pay-per-view. So I guess it's a somewhat big one for our next one. But anyway, in this one, we've got last week's, which was UFC Long Island. Then we've got The Ultimate Fighter, which we had the finale, the last episode. So we now know who is going to be in the final matchups, which, by the way, is going to be the first card of August. So not next week, but the week after that. And then we're going to be talking about this week's card, UFC London. Oh man, I can't wait. It doesn't look quite as good as the last card in London, but it still looks like it's going to be quite the show. With a lot of pretty clear favorites, I would say. Yeah. Anyway, so moving straight on into last week's card, UFC Long Island. We'll move straight into those prelims. Started off a little rough for us, but we did end up getting there. Oh, actually, no, I guess I didn't even mention that. My first pick was actually Jessica Penne, but I'll admit, probably shouldn't have gone in that direction. And I knew that was, I kind of figured that was going to happen. But anyway, it wasn't a pick that I made on the broadcast, so I could have just pretended that I got it, but that's not who I am. Anyway, so that was Emily Ducote, Jessica Penne. Ducote making her UFC debut. They took it pretty slow to start. Penne started to get chipped with all these leg kicks. Kind of expected that. Ducote just pretty young, really fast, fairly aggressive. Nothing crazy though. But anyway, Penne was actually the first one to make a big move first. Moved forward with a couple of heavy clinches. Didn't get the takedown from there, but she did look pretty good in them. But Ducote started to get a lot of leg kicks, and that's really what made a huge difference here, really throughout the entire fight. Started to push forward with some heavier combos herself, and because of that, really took the opening round on the cards there. Started the second round, it was pretty clear Ducote had a fairly clear speed advantage, that's for sure. Really starting to pick Penne apart. Halfway through the round, and Penne really got finally got, I should say, into another couple of clinches, landed some strikes, busted up the nose of Ducote, but really wasn't enough, I would say, to sway the judges in her direction on the cards yet. Headed into the third, seemed like it was just a matter of time before Ducote was going to win her first fight there. Right at the start of the final round, Ducote landed a kick that stumbled Penne backwards. And really all those leg kicks just really adding up. Should have done something about it earlier, of course, but a little bit too late for Penne. Ducote just started throwing kick after kick, mangled that leg, and Penne was still landing some decent shots and actually managed to avoid a lot of the leg kicks after that. But like I said, just too late. The judges agreed, scored it 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27 for Ducote. Amazing debut against a pretty tough contender, really. I mean, Jessica Penne didn't really quite do what she would normally be doing, which was a little weird, but of course the kicks also made a huge difference. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. But yeah, great debut by Ducote. And for now, I would say she is still up there for the rookie of the month so far. But I mean, who knows? Because I mean, we've actually got Muhammad Makayev back. Technically, he is still a rookie, so he could still grab that rookie of the month. So you never know. You never know. But you don't see too many women rookies that have been making a huge statement. And I would say that that was a pretty big statement. So now we have a bit of a race maybe for the female rookie of the year because we've got Ducote, and the only person that I can think of that's really been doing anything interesting, I think her name was Silva, and she got that amazing, I think it was the Darce choke. Yeah, the second Darce choke in women's UFC history. She's been pretty good. So maybe a toss up for female rookie of the year though between those two so far. But anyway, we're still like 4 or 5 months away from that, and we're already wasting time here. Second fight, Dustin Stoltzfus, Dwight Grant. This one really looked like it was going to be close. I had Stoltzfus on Tapology on this one because he seemed more well-rounded, but it was pretty close going into it. Grant landed pretty early, surprised Stoltzfus a little bit. After that, the action slowed down a little bit, but heated up again with Grant landing another couple of big shots. Stoltzfus' strategy was pretty clearly to grapple up, which it makes sense because, Grant, not necessarily the best in those situations, and also just way more dangerous on the feet. Stoltzfus got hit by another decent combo, but finally started to have some success with his grappling. Grant did get out of it, started to land some more of the strikes. And then Stoltzfus actually had a fantastic flurry at the end of the round. But it really did seem like Grant had won the first round because of all that extra action up until that point. Opening the second round, though, Stoltzfus landed a great combo of his own, kind of stumbled Grant a little bit there. And after a few minutes of not a whole lot from either guy there, Stoltzfus finally pushed Grant into another clinch, and then finally took him down and actually took his back from there. And with only 30 seconds left in the round, it wasn't really enough time to grab a finish, but he did a lot of damage to Grant at that point, so clearly won the second round on the cards there. So it seemed like 1-1 for sure going into the third. After some pretty good corner advice, Grant opened up the final round with some crisp combos, shut down Stoltzfus's offense. That's a tongue twister at that point. Wow. For most of the round. After getting picked apart a bit, Stoltzfus managed to run in and grab Grant, and from there, lifted Grant over his head, moved him into the middle of the octagon, and slammed him into the canvas. Love it when that happens. It's just so insane to watch that. I just couldn't imagine, honestly, being on either side of that in a fight. That would be insane. Grant had absolutely no response to that, and Stoltzfus just kind of dominated him on the ground from there, working for a submission. He didn't get the finish, but pretty clearly won that final round and definitely did enough, at least in my mind, to get that decision, 29-28. And all of the judges agreed, scoring it 29-28. Fight number 3, that would have been Dustin Jacoby and Da-Un Jung. I kind of figured Dustin Jacoby would come back strong with this one. He got injured in, really, I think it was actually in the middle of the fight in his last fight. So the kickboxer couldn't kick in his last fight. So he didn't really look that great at that point, but he still won the fight. So I knew okay, he's going to come into this one healthy, going to be able to kick again, going to be his regular self. I thought he was going to get a pretty good finish here. And that, well, actually, no, I kind of thought he was going to be still dominating, but that he would win a decent decision because Da Eun-jung was pretty dangerous. That's what I thought. And that's what I put on Topology. Anyway, Dustin Jacoby, tight striking matchup pretty early. Neither guy really landing anything all that significant at first, but Jung was the one landing the cleaner shots. Then out of absolutely nowhere, Dustin Jacoby landed a huge right hook, folded Jung straight into the canvas. No follow-ups needed. Just a fantastic KO win from Dustin Jacoby, looking fantastic. Then it was the first prelim that I had talked about in the last broadcast. That was Bill Algeo, Herbert Burns. I thought this was going to be pretty close. I thought this was going to be a decision. Turns out not even really as close as I thought it was going to be. In fact, it was actually just really a massacre by Algeo here. Burns got his game going first, pushed Algeo into the fence, tried to take him down. Using his own grappling, Algeo reversed him along the fence. A lot of people kind of didn't really see that one coming. I was maybe a little bit surprised at that point, but still not necessarily a whole lot surprised. It was, you could have gone either way on the ground, but yeah, it was the striking that we knew Algeo was going to be ahead in. Anyway, sadly, that may have been a mistake as Burns dragged him down and sunk in at multiple deep submissions, actually. Amazingly, over a minute of defending there from some nasty submission attempts, Algeo found himself on top, and Burns was exhausted. Just really, I don't know if I've ever even seen anybody that tired. He could not get up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But from there, he let loose some thunderous ground and pound, which obviously did not help the situation of Burns. Then Algeo decided to stand up, and like I said, exhausted, really actually barely made it to his feet, even in the first round there. And after the first round was done, like I said, even again, Burns barely standing up, had to really be motivated there by his brother, which is also one of his cornermen. Yeah, not looking good for Burns at all. Really had to push him to even just keep the fight going. Obviously, that wasn't a good sign for what was to come. Just looked like it was going to be a quick finish from there, honestly. Amazingly though, Burns actually did get a pretty good takedown right off the bat there, but Algeo, being much more fresh, reversed him pretty quick, and Algeo wisely decided to let him back up, and Burns actually just could not get up, and the ref stopped the fight from there. And it was pretty clear after that it wasn't just the case that Burns was just tired. Yes, he was exhausted, but he was actually also in a lot of pain, mostly from his knee, and he actually couldn't even stand up for a little while after that. So yeah, it wasn't just that he was tired. He got injured in there, and it was just he just couldn't do much after that, which makes sense. Oh, I had something in my eye there. Anyway, so amazing win for Bill Algeo. He looked fantastic in there, except for, of course, those deep submissions that he got stuck in. But still, he did manage to get out of it and came out of it with a great TKO win there. After that, it was another one of my prelims. It was Ricky Simón, Jack Shore, and unlike a lot of people, I had Ricky Simón in this one because I knew how good this guy was. I thought he was going to get a decision just because I thought Shore is so tough. He's so tough that I really thought, okay, they're probably going to a decision here. But I really, really thought the whole time, and I mentioned it last time, how convinced I was that Ricky Simón was gonna win this fight. Simón got his offense going early, landed some heavy kicks and combos, moved into a clinch along the fence. This cycle continued throughout the round there, with Simón landing some heavy shots on the feet, then controlling Shore along the fence. Wasn't really necessarily all that exciting, but it was pretty effective on the cards. Clearly won the opening round there against Shore. Shore really didn't get a whole lot going at all at that point. Simón not only kept the pressure going into the second round, he actually pushed it up even more. Hit Shore with some heavy shots, really threw himself into the takedowns. And then finally, after a round and a half of trying, Simón picked Shore up and slammed him into the ground. And out of nowhere, Simón landed a bomb, stumbled Shore, dropped him to the ground. From there, right onto Shore and locked in a nasty submission. Still not recovered from that knockdown. Shore was forced his tap and got his first career loss. Exactly like, well, not exactly like we thought. Like I said, I thought this was going to a decision, but with Simón on top after a dominant victory, that is what we thought was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, seriously, people really got to take this guy more seriously. I just don't understand what they're not seeing. Like, I mean, it's so clear every time this guy fights, he's so good. He's so well-rounded, insane striking, heavy, like lots of power, heavy grappling, crazy takedowns, amazing submissions. I mean, there's really not a whole lot that Ricky Simón can't do. So I just don't see what are people just not watching the tape? Like, what's going on here? I just don't understand how, like, these guys just aren't taking him seriously at all. And the bettors definitely are not taking him seriously because he was still an underdog in this. And it's just crazy to me. It's crazy. And I think finally after this, people are probably going to be like, oh, he beat Jack Shore. Okay, he's some kind of big deal now. It's like, no, he was a big deal the whole time. You should have just paid more attention. But he's probably going to get more respect but from the odds makers and just bettors in general after this. I would think. So we're probably not going to get that beautiful underdog cash anymore for Ricky Simón. But yeah, it's okay. It was nice while it lasted. Anyway, 5-fight win streak. Pretty impressive contenders, by the way, too, against Simón here. Clearly deserves somebody in the top 15 now. And he's called out the Sugar Show. And I thought that was a pretty decent call out and pretty interesting. But even then, I didn't think it was going to happen. And we, of course, just found out today, Wednesday, that Sugar is fighting none other than Piotr Yan in UFC 280. I mean, like everybody else, I am shocked. I don't know if that really is going to happen. I mean, it's made official. Who knows what's going to happen before then? That's a long ways away. But did not expect that to be the next matchup for Sugar. Just completely, I don't even know what to say about that. A little nervous though, because I love Sugar, but I gotta say, that is probably one of the only guys in the division that I think has a clear advantage over him, and that's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be interesting, but yeah, that's a rough one, I gotta say. But I, of course, can't wait. I love Sugar, and I hope he can get it done. But anyway, enough about Sugar. We're not even supposed to be talking about him. We're talking about Ricky Simón. So somebody in the top 15 would make sense. He's already fought Rob Font. Let's do a rematch there. I really think that's the perfect way to go. Font is on his way down. Simón is on his way up. Simón has looked better than ever. Font not necessarily looking as good. Maybe he can redeem himself here. Just makes sense all around. It's the perfect fight for both of them, I would say. So let's do Font and Simón. I think that's perfect. Will they make that happen? I don't know. Probably not. But I think that would make the most sense. If not that, Frankie Edgar also looks very good. I mean, he's on his way down too. Simón is on his way up. Again, from that perspective, again, just makes a lot of sense. Prelim number 3 that I had talked about last time. That was Puna Soriano, Dalcha Lungiambula. I knew this was going to be pretty even, but I had Lungiambula going into this because, and I really don't know why a lot of other people didn't, because when you looked at the tape, he was a pretty clear choice, and he proved that honestly early on in the fight. He had, going into this, he had the cardio, he had the power, he had the speed, and he had the skill pretty much everywhere to handle Soriano. So I really thought he was going to come out of this with a decision win. And the first round, you know what? That's kind of what we saw. Soriano did make the first move, landed a couple of strikes, shooting in for a takedown. Dalcha was the one who landed big first, though, slammed a heavy leg kick into Soriano that dropped him to the canvas, and it went back and forth with the striking, but then Lungiambula dragged Puna to the ground, and I mean, it was a pretty clear round for Dalcha in the first, which is why, like I said, that's what I expected. If you watch the tape, that's exactly what you would expect to happen. So, I mean, I honestly, even after everything happened, I felt pretty good about this pick. But yeah, the second round, you know, the question that the broadcasters had, though, was if Dalcha could maintain that pace without slowing down too much. And I'm pretty sure he could have if it kept going. But sadly, right at the start of the second round, Puna wasted no time, landed a good one, and that was it. Dalcha just didn't have a chance didn't have a chance to recover. That was it. The second round TKO win. You know, he landed a good one. What can you say about that? There's really nothing you can do about that. I mean, Dalcha was clearly winning the fight. I think it was a good pick. I stand by that pick. You know, just got unlucky. What else can you do? Landed a great shot, and that was it after a round of dominance. What can you do? After that, Lauren Murphy, Miesha Tate. Wow, that was this one. I mean, what can you say about this one? I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. I definitely didn't see it coming, and I watched a decent amount of tape for this. But yeah, I was going like most people, Tate by decision on this, because I mean she's coming down from bantamweight. She's pretty big, always pretty dominant in the clinch and the grappling. Has decent striking as well. On the other side, Murphy, you know, not necessarily that exciting. She is big, so that would have been a problem. But, you know, it just seemed like Tate had the edge kind of everywhere there. So, you know, it just seemed like it was a matter of time and she was just going to control the clinch and win on the cards, and that was going to be it. And she was probably going to get a title shot after that. That's what it seemed like was going to happen. But Murphy pushed the pace early, pressured forward against Tate, landed a couple of big shots, worked hard in the clinch. And after waiting out that kind of flurry early, Tate landed a couple jabs of her own straight into the chin of Murphy. Amazingly, it was actually Murphy, though, that pushed the wrestling against the much heavier Tate, almost getting a takedown. Now in her domain, though, Tate started to push the clinch work along the fence, working for a takedown of her own. And it was really close that first round. I mean, a lot of back and forth exchanges, no real way to tell who had scored the opening round on the cards. I ended up giving it to Murphy, though, because, I mean, she was pushing the pace and she did fairly well in those exchanges. So I gave that first round to Murphy, but it was really close. It was really close. The second round, Tate was the one pushing the striking early, but Murphy managed to briefly drag the fight to the ground. As the round went on, the damage was really starting to show on Tate's face and really got picked apart the majority of the round. She finally started to get something going. I should say Tate started to manage to get something going near the end of the round. Clinched with Murphy along the fence, landed a pretty big elbow, but it was tough to tell who was going to get that round two. Again, very close. It could have gone either way with certain judges, but similar to the first round, though, I was saying Murphy won that and was up 2-0 at this point, thanks to a little bit of extra damage there. The final round, Tate pushed that wrestling even harder, almost grabbed the takedown, but was reversed by the strength, just pure strength, not even a whole lot of technique behind it, but just pure strength from Murphy. And she was doing a great job of keeping up with the pace of Murphy, but really just seemed like it was too late to come back at that point. That being said, she did have a good last round and may have clinched that round on my cards. I kind of scored it 29-28 for Murphy. But like I said, there are some judges that could have scored it that other way. Would it have been justified? I'm not really sure. I would have been pretty surprised if Tate won the decision there, but I really could have seen a couple of judges going the other way with it. That being said, I agreed with the judges of 29-28. Two of them had it 30-27, though. That was maybe a little generous, but again, I mean, all the rounds were so close. Any of them really could have gone either way. But yeah, it just seemed like Murphy was doing better. After that, we had what looked like it was going to be the best fight of the night for sure. Was one of them at least, Shane Burgos and Charles Jourdain, our fellow Canadian. I had Burgos by decision in this one. I mean, like pretty much everybody else. Like most people, though, I think I thought this was going to be a little bit more one-sided. I mean, I knew Jourdain was good, of course, but I definitely expected a little more from Burgos, I guess. I don't know. It was just because Jourdain was so tough and so good in this. I mean, he made it a much better fight than we thought it was. I mean, a much closer fight, I should say, than a lot of us thought it was going to be. But yeah, fantastic for both guys. Anyway, getting into the actual fight itself. As expected, Burgos did walk forward right away, pressured Jourdain early, landed a couple of decent shots, but the real trouble came for Charles when they started to grapple. And we knew that was going to happen because Burgos is a lot bigger. From there, Burgos took his back, started to work for a nasty submission, cranking on the neck of Jourdain. Really looked pretty bad, actually. And Burgos was actually even surprised that Jourdain did get out of it, but he did get out of it and started to finally get some offense going, clinched up with Burgos, hit him with some pretty heavy shots. Jourdain did very well. Very well. I mistyped here, to defend against Burgos, but it seemed like Burgos grabbed the first round on the cards, of course, being more active. And of course, that deep submission attempt, seemed pretty clear that Burgos won that opening round, but it was pretty close. Using that speed advantage, though, because that's what started to be the difference maker for Jourdain there. Jourdain was landing a lot of shots at a distance, but Burgos jumped in and took Charles's back once again. Burgos kept trying to lock in a submission, but Jourdain, fantastic job, really, of shutting that down. And even though Jourdain managed to defend all those submissions, it was pretty clear at that point that the second round went to Burgos fairly clearly in that one. So I had him up too. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was pretty clear that he was up too, but maybe not. Jourdain came out as a completely new fighter, though, in the final round. Pushed the pace with his striking. As the round went on, landed combo after combo, backing Burgos into the fence. Unbelievably, though, it was Jourdain that really started to stumble Burgos, picked him apart on the feet with this insane striking. And if he would have done it earlier, I mean, who knows what would have happened. But yeah, third round, amazing for Jourdain there. Burgos tried to counter and work for clinches, but Jourdain was just relentless and really looked like Jourdain was actually heading towards a comeback finish here. Just insane in the last round. Burgos did recover, though. Tried to go for a takedown. But yeah, a pretty clear third round for Jourdain there. And like I said, pretty clear that round 2 was Burgos. Pretty clear that round 3 was Jourdain. The opening round could have gone either way, but like I said, I did have it for Burgos there fairly clearly. And the judges did end up agreeing for the most part. Two of them had it 29-28 for Burgos, and one of them had it 28-28 for the New Yorker, Shane Burgos, in a rare majority decision there. And that happened actually, somehow a 10-8 in the last round for Jourdain. That is how that score was achieved there, 28-28. So a little weird on that one, but yeah, I think they all basically saw it the same way, where round 1 and 2 went to Burgos, round 3 went to Jourdain. After that, one of the most insane fights we've ever seen, definitely one of the most insane comebacks we've ever seen, maybe the most insane comeback we've ever seen. Well, maybe not. There's been some crazy ones out there, but this is definitely top 5 in terms of comebacks. Just absolutely insane. Like most people, I had Sumudarji, but I did say last time that Schnell is a lot better than people give him credit for. He is pretty good. So I was I was about 50-50 on that one. It could have really gone either way. But like I said, I did have Sumudarji on this one. Sumudarji had the clear length advantage and used that to pick Schnell apart early. Eventually, Schnell managed to overcome that length, grabbed a takedown. It was looking good for him, but Sumudarji managed to reverse him, got some heavy ground and pound going. And from there, Schnell actually managed to threaten a submission there, put his opponent's arm in a spot that normally would not be going. If I remember correctly, it was like bent behind his back there pretty bad. Using that, Schnell finished the round on top and probably won that opening round on the cards. That's how I had it. But it was back and forth. He could have gone either way. He seems pretty confident that he won the first round in his interviews that I saw after. And it's hard to argue with that. I mean, well, not too hard, but still seemed like he was ahead for sure. Opening the second round, Schnell started to maybe get a little bit too reckless. And that is exactly what I said last week was going to be a problem for him. That if he got too reckless, he was going to have a problem. And that's exactly what happened. Schnell got a little bit too reckless there. Got hit bad by a couple of huge shots. He landed a nice kick that Sumudarji landed a nice kick that kind of stumbled Schnell, but really started to use his length to just decimate Schnell. I mean, he knocked him down a couple of times, stumbled him bad. It was really bad. Somehow, Schnell then stole the momentum, stumbled to Sumudarji bad. Then he got Sumudarji to the ground, let loose the ground and pound, and just when it looked like Schnell was going to get a TKO finish, Sumudarji flipped it, found himself on top, and then from the bottom, Schnell locked in a deep submission, put Sumudarji to sleep, slept him with the submission in the second round. What an insane comeback from Matt Schnell. But like I said, I mean, I even said going into it, I mean, he is pretty good. I thought because of the length and because of the over aggression from the length of Sumudarji plus the over aggression, the overzealousness, let's say, of Schnell, I thought that was going to be his downfall, and it basically was. I mean, he was stumbled multiple times, just basically almost finished. So it was close, and Sumu Darji did almost grab it. But like I said, you got to pay attention to Schnell. You got to pay attention to him. He's a lot better than most people are giving him credit for. Next up, we had Jingliang and Muslim Salikov. And this to me was a lot, actually almost exactly like the Ricky Simón and Jack Shore one, because I just couldn't understand why Salikov was being favored so heavily in this matchup when Lee has been in the top 15 for a while. And yeah, he got destroyed in his last one, but that was against Chimaev. Don't forget that he knocked out Ponzinibbio and had a decision loss to Magny. So, I mean, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. And on the other side, Salikov, I mean, he was doing okay in the other fights, but he kind of lost one of them. He got knocked down bad in a couple of them. So to me, I figured it was going to be kind of close, but that Lee would definitely be winning this one. I thought by decision, though, to be honest. But yeah, I just didn't really see all the hype that Salikov was getting. I just didn't see why. I didn't get it. And it looks like we were right. But anyway, Salikov did bring the heat early, threw a spinning kick to the head of Lee. But Lee responded with some cautious striking from a distance, but then was launched into the canvas by Muslim there. So not a fantastic start for Lee, but again, we knew he was pretty durable. Got up fairly quick, landed a couple of strikes on the feet. Seemed like a pretty clear round for Salikov on the cards there. He kept that momentum going into the second, quickly dropped Lee to the canvas with a crisp shot. From there, it seemed as though Muslim was starting to slow down a bit. And we also knew that Lee has insane cardio for all the rounds. So again, that was just another advantage that we thought we were going to see from Lee that we did end up seeing. Lee started to gain some momentum from there, landed some crisp strikes from a distance, then dragged Salikov to the ground. And after some back and forth striking, it was actually Lee that landed a huge shot that dropped Salikov to his knees. From there, he kept that pressure going, dropped Salikov again until the ref had to stop the fight there for a second round TKO from the Leech Li Jingliang. I mean, again, he's been in the top 15. He's been fighting all these guys. You got to give these guys a little more credit. I mean, so what? You lose to Chimaev like that. That doesn't mean anything. That's just good. That's just how good Chimaev really is. Anyway, after that, co-main event, Michelle Waterson, Amanda Lemos. Yeah. I mean, like pretty much everybody else, I had Lemos going into this, and I thought she was going to get a finish. I mean, just all around, she looked better in every department. She did way better against Angela Hill than Michelle Waterson did. Dropped Angela Hill a couple of times. Waterson didn't do that, and she was actually dropped by Hill. And of course, Lemos has the jiu-jitsu background as well. So not only was she better on the feet, I felt like, but because of the power and the not getting hit part and also the aggression part of it, she also had the ground skills to back that up as well. So it just really seemed like Lemos was going to be grabbing a huge finish here. Both of them took it slow early, kept the fight at a distance, and it looked dead even in terms of the output. But as we said was going to happen, the pressure and the power heavily favored Lemos, just like you would think. After all that striking, Waterson may have stolen the momentum, taking Lemos down to the canvas. But once again, it was Lemos that grabbed the early momentum with her straight. What? Yeah. Took Lemos down to the canvas. And then it was Lemos that grabbed the early momentum with the striking. But Waterson responded. Wow, I'm losing it now. with another takedown attempt. Sadly, that ended up being her demise. You can't run in there against Lemos like that. Lemos used that position to jump on Watterson, locked in a guillotine, made her tap. That was it. Second round submission for Amanda Lemos. I feel like I probably missed a sentence in there that I probably should have written, but it's all good. You get it. You get it. Dominant win from Amanda Lemos as expected. The main event. We were expecting so much from this. It looked so good, and we knew it was going to be a good fight, and it was shaping up to be a good fight. It was great to start. But yeah, I had Ortega by finish. I think it was pretty clear. He's got, I would say, pretty similar stand up to Yair, but that when it hit the ground, pretty clear that Ortega was going to win it when it hit the ground. That's what it seemed like going into it. Ortega was the one pressuring early, walked Yair down, hit him with some huge combos. Yair hit him with a couple of good shots too, but Ortega just kept walking him down. And from there, Ortega pinned him along the fence, started to work for that takedown. Couple of heavy minutes of clinch work from Ortega, and he finally got the takedown. Clearly dominating the fight at that point, pretty much everywhere. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, just shocking turn of events. Really would never have seen this coming. Ortega pulled his arm out of an armbar, dislocated his own shoulder like that, and Ortega could not continue from there. So Yair won by injury, by TKO, I guess, in the first round by injury there. And I'm a little split on this because I do agree. I mean, that's clearly never happened to Ortega before, and he's so good that there is no way that was really just a freak accident. It's not like Yair was trying to do that. So there is that part of it, but at the same time, you do, at least on some level, of course, have to give Yair some level of credit because he was grabbing onto Ortega's arm like that, and that's what ended up doing the damage. So yes, it was a little bit fluky, and that would probably never happen again. And Ortega was winning the fight up until that point. And just a crazy, just insane thing that happened. But at the same time, you still have to give Yair some level of credit. Anyway, so I mean, in terms of what's next, I mean, it's pretty obvious Yair did not earn a title shot after that. Absolutely not. He was losing the fight up until that point and didn't really do anything that showed he would have even a slight chance against Volkanovski. I mean, I think it's now more clear than ever that Volkanovski would absolutely destroy Yair, way worse than he won, I should say, against Holloway, obviously. It would look probably a lot more like what he did against the Korean Zombie. And by that, I mean just really not close at all. So obviously not ready for a title shot there. Instead, he'll probably get another top contender like Emmett or Allen. And you know what? They kind of even said Volkanovski's probably going to be not giving up the belt, but letting an interim belt happen. Because he'll be going up to lightweight, and he's still got to let his hand recover. So that seems to be exactly what's happening for now. We will see Volkanovski go challenge for the belt against whoever wins that. Whether that's, of course, now we know Islam or Oliveira. Now we know that is the next lightweight title. So that's probably what we're going to be seeing, Volkanovski against the winner of that. And then you will see an interim belt between Yair and probably Emmett. That seems to be the way that they will be going with that. Arnold Allen is another choice, but I don't think he's quite done enough yet to kind of get in there because he hasn't really been as active. And yes, he just beat Hooker, but it's not like he was It's not like he beat, Ortega or Yair or Holloway, anybody like that. So that's what seems to be next for the featherweights, I would say. The bonuses, I thought were pretty clear. Lee, for me, had the KO of the night. Actually, that really could have gone to a couple of different people, but I had it going to Lee because, he knocked out a world champion in, what is it, Wushu Sanda or something like that. Something like that. So, he finished him in the second round. It was just a good knockout. What else can I say? It was just good. The sub of the night, Matt Schnell had that locked up. Although I will say I was fighting between Ricky Simón and Matt Schnell because I would say they were both equally as impressive in terms of submissions. So what I ended up doing was I gave Matt Schnell the submission and I gave Ricky Simón the most valuable fighter, being that I kind of wanted to give Matt Schnell the most valuable fighter for that comeback. But at the same time, when I think of most valuable fighter, yes, you want that fighting spirit, but you also want somebody that is actually looking like they're going to be a very, very, very dangerous contender too. And that is exactly what Simón did. He gave Jack Shore his first loss, submitted him in the second round, and literally dominated him the entire fight. So to me, and he shut down the underdog status. He shut down all of those haters. So for me, that is the most valuable fighter, Ricky Simón. But then that meant that I gave the submission to Matt Schnell. And of course, the fight of the night, no contest. It was obviously Matt Schnell, Sumu Darji, just because of how insane it was, all of the action. One of the best fights we've seen all year up to this point. Just absolutely insane. So of course, that was going to be fight of the night. And before we take a quick break and talk about UFC London, we will quickly talk about The Ultimate Fighter, Season 30, Episode 12. It's the last episode of the season before we watch that live finale. So yeah, let's get right into it. Last episode, of course, we saw the final heavyweight semifinal. That was Muhammad Usman and Eduardo Perez, the two number one picks. Usman edged ahead in that decision. I thought he fairly clearly won it, but it was close. It was close enough that it wasn't like, okay, he's going to be winning the show. Like, no, it was close enough where it was like, okay, could have gone either way with this. But anyway, and then this episode, we saw the last matchup, and it was the last flyweight semifinal, a matchup between Juliana Miller and Caitlin Neal. We knew this was going to be good because Juliana Miller had an incredible fight earlier this season against Claire Guthrie. She won that one, of course. That's how she got here. And got her revenge. Of course, that being her only loss in her career was against Claire Guthrie. So managed to overcome that and win that to get into this situation. And that was probably the best fight of the season up until this point. On the other side, Caitlin Neal from Team Nunes. Of course, Juliana Miller, I should have said, being on Team Pena. Caitlin Neal, Team Nunes there, got her win from a tight decision against Helen Peralta. And that was actually one of the ones that we thought was a little bit strange. I think that, if I remember correctly, that was the one where we thought it should have been going to a third round because it was dead even after two. I believe that's the one where that was happening. I could be wrong, but I do remember thinking that it was weird and that Peralta was doing pretty well. So that was a little bit weird and it was a close one. But regardless of that, Caitlin Neal got into this one. And using that as an advantage, actually, that Guthrie, her teammate, had already fought Miller. They discussed some strategy. Wow. some strategy early on in the episode. And they knew that Miller was going to come out hard. Knew that she was going to come out hard because she did that against Guthrie. They also did think, though, that maybe that was just because she was emotional in that fight, because she wanted she wanted her revenge. She wanted the win in the rematch. So maybe just a little extra emotion there, but figured still that she was going to be dangerous at the start and really going in right at the start there. They also mentioned the fact that Juliana had a rough fight against Guthrie, and that she would probably come into this fight not fully healed, so still hurting a little bit, so that they would take advantage of that. So they're pretty confident going into this. They really were. Nunes was just as optimistic, said that Neal was stronger, moves a lot, and could compete with Miller's jiu-jitsu there. But Miller was shutting all that down. Miller was just as confident. I would even say more confident, saying that the matchup favored her because Neal likes to point fight and clinch, where she is wild and scrappy and likes to be in close for those takedowns, and that those clinch, because you're close, fits in perfectly with Miller's game plan. But yeah, so seemed like it was going to be pretty close going into it, but yeah, definitely the confidence level for Miller was way, way higher on that side. That's for sure. But before the fight, both teams ended up getting a little bit of a vacation from the house there. What was I going to say? Pena and her team went to go see the Jabberwockies, which is pretty sick. I mean, I would love that. I love the Jabberwockies. That would have been super cool. And then Team Nunes got to go to a Brazilian restaurant with Nunes. Maybe got shafted a little bit on that one. They did get a cool action figure though. But I don't know. I don't know actually. I don't know which one I would have enjoyed more. They're just very different nights from very different teams, but they both had a great time on either side. Anyway, all that aside, the fight itself, neither one of them had any weight problems, of course, or else I would have said that. Miller ran in immediately, just as aggressive as they kind of thought she was going to be, lit her up and went into a clinch with Neal and dragged her down to the ground right away. Neal did manage to reverse her and they stood back up. But then it was just more dominant, aggressive striking from Miller. Dragged Neal down to the ground again, this time taking her back. Caitlin managed to break up the action and stand up momentarily for after a couple minutes down there, but was quickly dragged back down. And from there, Juliana actually had a pretty deep submission going on Neal's arm there. Neal managed to end the round on top, but I mean, it was a clear first round for Juliana Miller there. Looked absolutely fantastic and very, very determined to get this win. Nothing was going to stop her from getting this win. I mean, she's seriously one of the most motivated people I've ever seen. Seriously. They both took a much slower start to the second round, but quickly started to move back into a brawl. Neal was getting some good shots in, but Juliana was still clearly doing better in the exchanges. Similar to the opening round, Miller then clinched up with Neal, took the fight to the ground, this time in top position. From there, she let loose some heavy ground and pound and sunk in a deep submission. And from there, only a couple of seconds for Neal to tap to a nasty Kimura, which you don't normally see. So very, very, very impressive win from Miller. Yeah, huge win from Miller. And now we have our final matchups. Of course, yes, we have Miller, who we just saw, and going against a hopefully fully healed Brogan Walker, because Brogan Walker, of course, had an injured knee in this, struggled with that in both of her fights. So hopefully she's healed up from that. and hopefully we'll see her go into this one healthy, but you never know. I mean, it was 4 months ago or so, so you never know. You never know what happens in that amount of time. And I mean, Miller could come. I mean, she's going to come in heavy with this one, but we won't go into huge detail about how I think that one's going to go down. We'll be doing that, of course, in 2 weeks when we go to talk about the finals, of course. And on the other side, you've got the men. You've got Zach Pauga and Mohammed Usman, both from Team Pena there. So you've got 3 out of the 4 fighters in the final from Team Pena there, and they're both looking pretty good. That's going to be another close one. I would say they're both going to be fairly close fights. That's what I think. And very, very interesting fights indeed. I'm actually pretty excited for them. So what that's going to be is, like I said, we're going to see the coaches. We're going to see Pena and Nunes have their rematch next Saturday. And then the Saturday after that, we will see the finale with the men in the co-main, Mohammed Usman, Zach Pauga in that co-main slot. And then just before that, you will see Juliana Miller and Brogan Walker. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see a couple of the other fighters from the season be on that card. But I did look up a little bit. There are actually quite a few people from the Ultimate Fighter that are fighting on there, including actually Brian Battle, who won last season. So we are going to see Brian Battle return again. Fantastic. So we will see how that goes. But yeah, that is all 2 weeks from now. This week, though, is UFC London. And before we talk about that, of course, we will take a quick break. I will be back right after this.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we're back with UFC London, of course. I don't even know what I was going to say there, but unlike a lot of cards, I would say this one is a little bit of a strange card. And, when you look at the lineup, it's pretty clear what the UFC is trying to do here. And they did this last time in London, and it worked out pretty good. It didn't work out flawlessly, that not all of the British fighters won, but it worked out well enough that most of them won. And that is exactly what they're trying to do here. They're basically giving favorable matchups to every single British fighter on this card. And then a couple of other people they're giving pretty favorable matchups, I would say. And that's exactly what. So, I mean, you shouldn't be surprised by anybody that I pick here, because I actually really do think that almost all of these British fighters are going to win for a very good reason, because they're being given spoon-fed, really. They're getting slam dunk matchups, really. You'd have to, it would be an upset, actually, to be honest, if most of these, if a couple of these British people, I should say, lost in this one. And it opens up with, I actually think, one of the closer ones of the night, but I'm still giving it to the British guy. It's Paul Craig and Volkan Oezdemir on this one. I mean, it's hard not to go really in Craig's direction here. He usually, not the best striker, but he has overcome other strikers the exact same way in the past, and it's probably what he's going to do this time too. He ends up just basically running in, either taking them down or getting hit down, and then submitting them, and that is exactly what I think he's going to do here too. Özdemir on the other side, he's gone, by the way, he's 5-0-1 in his last 6, 4 first-round submissions. So when you get to the odds here, that's honestly kind of baffling that he's 5-0-1 and he is the underdog. He is the underdog in this matchup. Just remember that. Whereas Özdemir is 2-5 in his last 7 fights, with losses. I mean, he has lost to champs. I mean, he's lost to Cormier, Smith, Reyes, Yuri, and Ankalaev. So, I mean, those 5 losses are not to, they're not to anybody small, but at the same time, it's 2-5 against somebody who's 5-0-1, especially considering Paul Craig, almost all of those guys were in the top 15 too. So, I mean, I think it was half of them, I would say at least. But anyway, so already you've got a favor towards Craig there. The game plan, pretty obvious. I mean, Craig wants to get it down. Özdemir wants to strike. The difference came when I was watching. You have to watch the matchup for both of them between them and Ankalaev, because they've both fought Ankalaev, but they both had a very, very different experiences. And it really also speaks to how good Ankalaev is, that he's that well-rounded. But yeah, it was just completely different watching from both sides. He had Ankalaev, even though he's very, very good, Craig, he had a lot of problems with Craig's ground game. A lot of problems. In fact, I think I'm pretty sure that was one of Ankalaev's only losses was to Paul Craig, because he got submitted there. And Craig was just dominating him on the ground like that. And Özdemir was the opposite. He couldn't really compete with Magomed's grappling, but he was doing fairly well on the feet. That being said, Volkan was kind of dominated by Ankalaev, and he didn't really show any kind of ground game whatsoever. So, I mean, to me, I think it's pretty clear what's going to happen here. I mean, Craig probably going to get hit by some big strikes here, even though he is very quick and a very good striker himself, just not on that same level of Özdemir. But you know what? With the ability to clinch that Craig has along the fence and everything, with the wrestling and the takedowns, I mean, he was controlling Ankalaev. So to me, I just can't see how Özdemir can overcome that. If Ankalaev can't overcome it, you can't overcome it. Like, Özdemir is not going to be able to overcome it like that. So I just think we're going to see another finish by Craig here. I honestly think that's a pretty clear choice. And I think that's exactly what the UFC is trying to do here. They're trying to give Craig another matchup that favors him, which in this case is somebody that hasn't really grappled all that much. Not that he can't, it's just that he hasn't really showed it at all. So he's clearly not as confident about it as Craig is, and Craig can hang with big strikers. So it just seems to favor him quite a bit. So I'll get to the odds now. Oh yeah, whoops, I need to get... Where's my banner? There it is. The odds, plus 130 for Craig right now. And by the way, remember that he's got the home crowd. He's got the home crowd, which helped him a lot last time. Plus, he's got the insane grappling skills, plus a couple other things. So to me, Paul Craig at plus 130, that is the way to go. That is the way to go on this one. The over-under, clearly go with the under, but it is at minus 234 right now. Under 2.5 rounds, minus 234. So, I mean, you might want to go, I would say, with a parlay on this one. or you might even want to go with Craig under 2.5. You might even want to do that. Make it more interesting like that. Or you could even, string together a couple of these. There's so many opportunities for parlays on this card. It's not even funny. It's actually insane how many good parlays there are on this card, and that could definitely be included in one of them. So yeah, that's where I'm going with this. I think it's a pretty clear choice. But well, maybe not completely clear. I will say, like I said, in terms of the British fighters, this is one of the closest matchups for sure. After that, we've got the return of Molly McCann. After that massive, insane spinning elbow that knocked, who was it? Oh, was it Cachoeira? No, Luana Carolina. That knocked Carolina out cold. Craziest women's KO I have ever seen. Honestly, actually, no, one of the craziest, because I will say the one with Wei Li against Joanna, that was insane. But yeah, one easily top 5 women's KOs I've ever seen. If not the best of the year, a tight second. It's going to be really close when it comes to the end of the year between Molly McCann and Zhang Wei Li, I would say. Anyway, huge win. So, I mean, coming off of that, but even before that, she was 4-3. She had wins over Ariane Lipski, Diana Belbita, and then decision losses to, Lara Fritzen. I don't even really know who that is. And then Tyler Santos, which makes sense because Tyler Santos is incredible. But yeah, Goldie on the other side, not really that experienced. Only 3 UFC fights so far since her win on the Contender Series. And you know what? It's 2 decision losses so far to Miranda Granger and then Diana Belbita, who lost to Molly McCann. So, I mean, this is really just one of those ones. Again, like I said, it's going to happen a lot on this card. I'm going to mention it quite a bit. It's one of those slam dunk wins for a British fighter here. Minus 400 for McCann. I mean, oh yeah, by the way, where was I going with this? Of course, I'm going with McCann. But, it's rare. I wrote this down here. It's rare. It is rare to see a women's MMA fight be, it's like, okay, that person's clearly going to be winning. Like, there's a clear advantage in terms of McCann. And that really, really does not happen all that often in women's fights. But it is the case here because Goldie, less experienced, like I said, but she also gets hit quite a bit. She really does. She gets hit a lot. And considering the fact that McCann is powerful, fast, and really not a pure striker, let's say, but definitely favors the striking. So, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, I honestly think she's going to get a first, maybe a second round finish because she almost won her last fight in the first round. If you look back at it, she was slinging those combos and she had like a 20-punch combo against Carolina in the first round there because she was looking for that TKO. And you know what? I don't think Goldie's is tough. I think she actually is going to get that finish this time. And if she doesn't get it in the first or second round, she's still capable of getting that finish in the third. So yeah, I really think she's going to get a finish here, which is huge on the odds because McCann, like I said, minus 400, and Goldie's plus 300. So obviously this is one of those parlay ones, of course, but the over under is at 2.5 rounds right now, minus 267 for the over 2.5. So you know what? Considering Molly McCann has the striking, by the way, not only does she have the striking, she's got the power. She's got a massive advantage in terms of the crowd. I mean, everybody loves Molly McCann now, especially after that performance. But the Brits, I mean, this London crowd went insane for her last time. They are going to go just as big this time for McCann. So, I mean, you got to think with that crowd, the striking, the power, plus Goldie's chin, and she's on the opposite side of the crowd. getting booed. She's going to get hardcore booed in this one. I mean, McCann, a finish under 2.5. I mean, at plus 200 right now. That is what it's sitting at. Plus 200 for a finish from McCann. I mean, seriously, put a couple bucks on that. Put a couple bucks on that one. That's what I'm going to be doing. I mean, that is a no-brainer for a plus 200. Do it. Do that one. After that, very interesting fight. You've got Nikita Krylov and the return of the Mauler, one of the best light heavyweights of all time, Alexander Gustafsson. Oh my God, back in the light heavyweight division. He was in the heavyweight division last time. Was doing okay, but it didn't end up going in his favor. But this time, back in the light heavyweight division, he's got the fire behind him. He's going to have the crowd behind him this time. The crowd's going to go insane for Gustafsson. Everybody loves Gustafsson, so they're going to go insane. And I'm giving him a slight edge here, but this is very, very close. This is very close, I will say. Yeah, so I mean, obviously Gustafsson has all that experience. He's gone 0-3 in his last 3, which doesn't sound good. It's, maybe it's not, but those 3, I mean, he lost, of course, to John Jones 3 fights ago. 2 fights ago, Anthony Smith, that was a close one, lost in the 4th round. I believe it was. Yeah. Oh, I wrote it there. Submitted by Anthony Smith in the 4th round, because not necessarily a ground fighter here. And then a quick loss to Fabricio Verdum on the ground as well. So not necessarily great on the ground, but it's also really hard to take him down to the ground in the first place. And I just don't think that Krylov is going to be able to do that. And also, Krylov just isn't really that kind of fighter in the first place. Anyway, Krylov, 2-4 recently, so also kind of struggling, but lost to Blachowicz, Teixeira, and Ankalaev. So pretty tough guys, as well as a win over OSP, Ovan Sepru, and Johnny Walker there. So, he's been doing well, but I just, when you're fighting a legend, an absolute legend like Gustafsson, you've got a huge arena of people going for Gustafsson. I mean, that's going to fire Gustafsson up even more than normal. And he's also said that he's fired up, trying to go on a title run here, one last title run. So, you know what? It's just hard to go against Gustafsson on this one. I'm going for a decision, but that's the way I'm going. It really could go either way, but I'll tell you why I'm going with Gustafsson here. Where is it here? Yeah, Gustafsson's style lends itself to this matchup. And that is exactly why, again, why these two are matched up. And that is why they are on this card. Because like I said, honestly, almost every single fight on this card is basically tailor-made for a specific person. All of the British people, and then Gustafsson has it here. I mean, he's not favored in the odds. He is the underdog, but I guarantee you that that is exactly what the UFC wants. They want Gustafsson to win this fight, and they gave him what they think is one of the easier matchups for him. And I really do think that too. I mean, Gustafsson, very, very difficult to take down if you can even catch him in the first place, because he moves a lot. So with the grappling defense, his movement, plus his great striking, he should be able to edge ahead in a decision. So I do think it's going to be close. I don't think he's going to get a finish, but I think he's the clear choice in a decision here. Whereas Krylov, he's got great striking, especially his kicks and counters. But, oh, wait. Oh, I was talking about Gustafsson there. Oh, yeah, Krylov doesn't really do that much. Doesn't really move that much, I should say. That's what I meant to say. And he does have good grappling, though. But like I said, nowhere near good enough, I would say, to keep Gustafsson down. He might, drag him down for a couple seconds here and there. But I really do think that Gustafsson's just going to stand back up And because he's in close, he's going to shred him apart with clinch strikes and just his stand up in general. So I really think that Gustafsson is going to just win this by decision, in a close decision, an entertaining decision, but he's going to win. The odds minus 200 for Krylov right now, plus 160 for Gustafsson. I mean, obviously they're going based on 3 losses in a row, but like I said, I mean, it's to John Jones, the GOAT, you know, Anthony Smith, who submitted him. And I actually didn't even watch that. So, I mean, he could have been winning their other 3 rounds. I don't even know. But, yeah, I mean, Anthony Smith is good at grappling. He's really good at grappling. So, I mean, you know, that makes sense as a submission. But Krylov is just not at that level. He's not that good at grappling that he'll be able to take Gustafsson down and submit him. I don't think anyway. Anyway, over under. The over 2.5 is at plus 105 right now. That's the way that I'm going with it. They're both fairly tough. So yeah, I'm thinking plus 105 is the way to go with this. The under 2.5 is at minus 134. So they think basically that Gustafsson's going to get submitted. That's essentially what they're saying here. Yeah, so I'm going with both of the underdog picks, I guess. Gustafsson at plus 160 and the over 2.5 at plus 105. But I think it's looking really good for that. It's the one that makes the most sense to me. The next one, Paddy the Baddy. Oh my God, I can't wait. Oh, what a guy versus Jordan Levitt. And I will say, I actually really do like Jordan Levitt. Not necessarily a hugely popular guy. I really like him. I think he's funny. He's smart. He seems like a really nice guy. Apparently he is. And you know what? He's got great submission game. He's got a great ground game. But I got to say, this is another slam dunk for Pimblett. It really is. And I hate to say this because, again, I really do like Jordan Levitt. But I got to say, it really favors Pimblett a lot here. Pimblett is faster. He's got huge power. And Levitt just doesn't really have a whole lot of striking. He can get hit quite a bit. And, you know, he's good on the ground, but not necessarily when somebody else is also very, very good on the ground. So, I mean, it's pretty clear to me. I think Pimblett, because of his striking, I mean, because Levitt just doesn't really have much striking to him, Pimblett's just going to rush in there and dominate him on the feet, probably knock him down fairly quickly, and either get a TKO finish or a submission finish in the first round. I really do think that. And not only that, I actually think this is probably the easiest matchup he's had yet, because honestly, the other guys had the striking, and that's what gave Paddy problems. He had problems because, he got knocked down and almost finished in both of those fights because of the power, but Levitt doesn't have that. So you've basically taken away the only main weakness of Pimblett. So this to me is his easiest matchup yet, just because of the styles, and Pimblett's going to win fairly easily in the first round here. Yeah, that being said, and I said this before, I don't think he's insanely good. I don't think he can be in the top 20 yet even. But, top 30-ish maybe, but not top 20. And I mean, yeah, it's just, it's really the perfect kind of matchup for Pimblett in this one. So yeah, first round TKO or submission. That's what I'm seeing here. Minus 260 right now. So they haven't gone insane, at least not yet, on the odds yet. I would imagine that's probably going to start going up a little bit, probably to minus 300 by the end of the week. But yeah, so going that way, that's another parlay opportunity, of course. The over-under plus 133 for over 2.5 rounds. Under 2.5 rounds is minus 175. That is unbelievable to me, considering Paddy has yet to go 3 rounds. And Levitt also only had... Well, actually, no, Levitt has made it to decisions so far, so that makes sense. But again, it's just so clear. I don't know. It's a pretty clear way to go with the under on this minus 175. obvious way to go with it. Yeah. The co-main. Jack Hermansson, Chris Curtis. Of course, originally this was supposed to be Darren Till and Jack Hermansson. Sadly, Till is out once again. Haven't seen him in a long time. What a shame, because we all love Till. I mean, well, maybe not everybody, but I do. I love Till. Anyway, instead, Chris Curtis is back. Less than a month ago, he fought. And to be honest, I think it favors him perfectly. I think this is basically the exact same matchup as fighting Rodolfo Vieira, except for Hermansson, probably a little bit better at the grappling than Vieira. Actually, I don't even know, because Vieira is pretty good at that grappling. But yeah, I mean, but less good at the stand-up. And that is where exactly why I'm going with Curtis by finish this time. And I said this in his last matchup too, but this one even more so. I really, really do think this favors him very, very well. Yeah, Hermansson, he's had a rough time against ranked fighters too. He's gone 2-3 in his last 5. He did get a first-round submission over Gastelum, but lost by decision to Vettori and Strickland recently. Curtis hasn't lost in the UFC yet. Just looked amazing. 3-0 so far, and really shows no signs of slowing down. Definitely not in this matchup. I mean, on paper it's close, but really when you look at the actual footage and stuff like that, like watch their last couple of fights, really doesn't look that close. I mean, Curtis has a huge advantage here. He really does. Curtis has the heavy striking. He's got good grappling offense and fantastic defense, by the way, too. This is an absolute nightmare for Hermansson. I mean, he struggled with that exact kind of matchup in the past. So yeah, I really do think that Hermansson, he's probably going to extend it a little bit with the grappling. So maybe Curtis doesn't get it in the first round, maybe even the second round. But you know what? The second or the third round, really the longer this fight goes, and Hermansson starts to slow down with his grappling, that's when Curtis is going to take over and he's going to get a finish. I really do think he's going to get the finish this time. The one that he promised us last time, the one that I thought he was going to get last time, I really think he's going to get it this time. Yeah. And you have to think of what this matchup was originally supposed to do. It was originally obviously supposed to favor Darren Till, who was going to be winning this one and then getting his name back. And yay, co-main event, Darren Till wins. The place goes absolutely insane. And he rides off into the sunset. That's what was supposed to happen. So, I mean, Till is kind of similar to Curtis. So you kind of figured that's what they were going for anyway. So, I mean, really favors Curtis a lot in this matchup. The main event, we've got Tom Aspinall again, the second time, because he was there last time in London, of course, against Volkov headlining. Just sensational. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind this is another slam dunk win for Aspinall. It's hard to say that because you know what, Blades, I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily realize this because he doesn't have the hype behind him. He doesn't have the Aspinall hype. He doesn't have the hype of Gon, Tuivasa, or Ngannou, or Stipe, or John Jones, like anybody like that. He doesn't have that. But he's only lost. He's got a UFC record of 11-3. 11 wins and 3 losses in the UFC. So, I mean, he's got it. This guy has got a lot of skill. And his only losses have come twice to Ngannou and once to Derek Lewis. All 3 by knockout. Yeah. So, it's like he hasn't lost to anybody bad. It's just that Aspinall is just that next level. He is so unbelievably good for a heavyweight. He's way faster than every heavyweight I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. Like faster than any heavyweight I've ever seen. He's got stand-up skills that are outrageously good. He's so fast and so powerful. So already that's not good for Blades because he's not good against people that are incredible and powerful strikers, as we saw, of course, with Ngannou and Lewis. So already seems like it's going to be a knockout for Aspinall, but even so, I mean, Blades is fantastic on the ground, but you know what? Aspinall, once again, just that next level. He is just that. Seriously, that's really the only way to say it. Like Blades is here, Aspinall's here. He's just that next little bit level better than that. And maybe not even a little bit, because he has completely dominated every single person he's ever fought in the UFC. And it has not been close at all. Not even close. So to me, pretty clear choice here. Aspinall is going to be winning by a finish. And I honestly think it's going to be a KO. I mean, he's got 5 rounds to get it. We're seeing a KO here for sure. Whether that's in the first round, the second, or the third, I don't know. But I would say it's going to happen in that first half of the fight for sure. The odds are so close. I mean, plus 114 for Blades, minus 140 for Aspinall here. I mean, put it on Aspinall, minus 140. Good God, that is generous. That is generous. Yes, Blades is good, but he gets hit a lot, and he's facing the fastest and one of the most dangerous strikers in the whole division. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It really is. Aspinall minus 140. Put some money on that one for sure. The over-under on this is set at 3.5 rounds, which is, again, a little bit generous because that's halfway through the 4th round. So I would think the clear way to go with this is the under, and it is at minus 180. So they're seeing a similar thing. Like, yeah, we're probably going to see a finish here. Minus 180 for under 3.5. That's the way I'm going 100%. Not even a doubt in my mind, because I really, really do think, I called it on Tapology, I'm thinking another first round TKO for Aspinall in this one. I really, really do. He's just so unbelievably good. Before we go, I've got 2 prelims that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get into the insane list of parlays in this. I mean, it's almost every single fight really could be in a parlay here. Muhammad Mokaev and Charles Johnson. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because Muhammad Mokaev is so insanely good. I mean, and he's, again, another slam dunk win for the British here. Minus 500 for Mokaev, by the way. I mean, I know I skipped ahead of my analysis here, but seriously, I mean, this isn't even close. I mean, Charles Johnson is making his UFC debut against somebody who basically had one of the best debuts we've ever seen. Probably one of the definitely one of the best debuts in flyweight history, that's for sure. And I mean, he destroyed his opponent in London, Cody Durden, who, by the way, isn't even that bad. Like, Cody Durden is fairly good himself, and he won in less than a minute, and it wasn't even close. Mokaev just smoked him out of the water, and he's going against Johnson, who, like I said, is making his debut. And you know, he's on a 5-fight win streak in LF, or 4-fight win streak in LFA. But you know what? I watched it, and he got kind of smoked right at the start of the fight. I mean, he was taken down, like he was knocked down. He was hit bad right at the start of the fight, and he was taken down and controlled early. And at that point, I was just like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't even matter at that point what I think about it, because that's exactly what Mokaev's plan is, and that's exactly what he is going to do. He's going to rush in, pressure Johnson, and then just destroy him on the feet and on the ground and get a finish in the first round again. I mean, to me, I would actually say this is an easier matchup than his last one. Because like I said, Durden was actually half decent. Charles Johnson making his debut, like I said, it's just not even close. Not even close. I just think this is going to be even more lopsided than the first one. He's probably going to get a submission. By the way, like I said, controlled on the ground by this other guy who ended up, like I said, losing. But because like I said, Johnson does have a 4-fight win streak. But yeah, just dominated on the ground for like the first couple minutes. So I mean, it's a complete no-brainer on this one. Minus 500 Mokaev, 100%. Going for the finish, 100% here. The over-under, though, 2.5 rounds. Another steal of a bet on this one. Minus 128 for under 2.5 rounds. I mean, Mokaev is going to shred this guy. Minus 128 is an absolute steal at under 2.5. Absolute steal. And definitely, I'm definitely putting some money on that one too. I mean, there's so many bets on this one and parlays and favorites on it. I mean, this is the perfect card to bet on. Unless, of course, it goes horribly wrong. But I mean, they're seriously just lining up all of these British fighters to get big wins here. And that continues into the last prelim that I'm going to talk about, Liudvik Klein and Mason Jones. It is fairly close, I will say, because Klein is very good, but they've still given Jones a favorable matchup in this one because they're both well-rounded, but Jones just seems just a little bit better in every single area. That's how I see it. Klein 2-2 so far. Split decision win over Devontae Smith in his last one. Losses to Nate Landwehr and Trezano. Trezano's pretty good though. Jones just joined last year. He's 1-1 with a no contest thrown in there. Came in undefeated and then lost his debut in a decision to Mike Davis. Mike Davis, not necessarily a big name, but then dominated Alain Patrick and didn't get the win due to an accidental eye poke that was a no contest. So technically he's really up 2-1. I mean, really. And then followed that up with an impressive win over David Onama. And David Onama, to me, is more dangerous, at least on the ground, than Klein was. And he did that fairly well. And Onama is huge. So, again, this really does favor Mason Jones, even though it is, again, kind of close. What was I saying? Klein is pretty quick, pretty dangerous striking, and decent grappling. Jones just as well-rounded, but like I said, slightly better in every single area, I would say. Plus, he's got the cardio. Not that Klein doesn't, but we know that Jones can go all the way and still be very, very dangerous. So yeah, it just seems like Jones will edge ahead in a close fight, but in a decision there. That's what I'm thinking. The odds, minus 350 for Jones. Again, another parlay opportunity. And plus 266 for Klein. Yeah. The over, so that's the way I'm going with that part of a parlay. And the over-under is plus 100 for the over 2.5, which is where we're going with it. And the under 2.5 is minus 125. I mean, they have a lot of decisions and they're very closely matched. So for me, this really does actually make a lot more sense to go with the over 2.5, which, like I said, is at plus 100 right now. I mean, it's just, like I said, this is another one of those bets that I think really, really favors us here. Plus 100 for over 2.5 rounds. And that is it. That is it for all of the bets and all that, all of my picks and all that. So we'll quickly go through the parlays. And like I said, there are so many on this card. you could basically throw in anybody. I mean, Dalby's at minus 260, and I think he has a decent edge. It is a little close, though. So, maybe not. But still, again, minus 260. That's a parlay opportunity. Jai Herbert. I mean, he's got a slam dunk win here. That's minus 275. Throw him in a parlay. Mokaev minus 500. That's a parlay. The next one, Amir Khani and Pierce. I'm 50-50 on that one. So don't do that one in the parlay. I would say Wood against Charles Hosa. I'm still thinking Wood is the clear choice here. Minus 600. That's another clear opportunity for a parlay. Again, a British fighter basically being given an almost slam dunk win here. Jacasey at minus 350. That's another parlay. Jones at minus 350. The next one, that's Craig and Ozdemir. That's, no parlay there. McCann at minus 400. That's a parlay. Then again, Krylov, Gustafsson, kind of stay away from that one. Pimblett at minus 260. That's a parlay. I might even go with Chris Curtis at minus 106 in a parlay. I mean, and then, of course, Aspinall to finish off the night at minus 140. That's a clear parlay. So, there's so many opportunities to go with parlays here. Make a few smaller ones, a few bigger ones here. I mean, that's what I do every week, but especially this week, this is literally the perfect week for that kind of thing. So yeah, go crazy with those parlays. I mean, there's so many picks on this week that look not guaranteed, but that's clearly the way things are heavily favored to go. Let's just say that. So yeah, barring any insane, upsets here, it's looking like some pretty good picks for us this week. Get that banner out of here. Next week, of course. Next week, I mean, like I said, it's the 50th episode. I just remembered that. You've got, of course, we're going to be talking about UFC London. Then you've got the Contender Series we're going to be talking about. I can't wait for that, for the Contender Series to start again. And then we've got UFC, what is it at? 277? Let me see here. I don't want to get this wrong. That would be silly. UFC, 277. That is next week. So we've got all of that next week. I mean, how exciting is that? Next week is going to be great. That's it for me. If you want to watch or hear about any other sports, Area 51 has got you covered. I've got all the MMA stuff, of course. All my socials are down below, as well as a link to the website. Actually, that's the older website, so technically I have to fix that. But probably when you're watching this, I'll probably have it fixed up. Maybe. We'll see. Depending on when you watch this. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, that's basically all I was going to say. Thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah, looking like a good one. I cannot wait for this card on Saturday. Paddy the Baddy, Gustafsson, Aspinall, McCann. I mean, just some crazy good looking fights. I'm so excited. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.